Good afternoon to our evolution leaders, our partners, our family, our friends, our loved ones. It's Bree once again, coming to you with something inspirational, praying that you can continue to carry it with you throughout this week and until we see each other again. So here goes. Your passion is connected to your purpose. Your purpose is connected to His kingdom. His kingdom gives ability to conquer all things. So take a step into your destiny. 'Cause God supplies all our needs. He has always dwelled inside of me. So don't have fear. Go and be free and take a step into your destiny. 'Cause God supplies all our needs. He has always dwelled inside of me. So don't have fear. Go and be free and take a step into your destiny. So the words are, your passion has connection to your purpose. Your purpose is connected to His kingdom. His kingdom gives ability for us to conquer all things. So take a step into your destiny. And God supplies all our needs. He has always dwelled inside of me. So don't have fear. Go and be free and take a step into your destiny. Right? Genuinely, it spoke to me, so I just wanted to be able to share with you all. And I pray that you all enjoyed it and have a very blessed week. God loves you, and so do I. Bye.
Hey, great afternoon to you. It's Coach She here. Listen, I try to bring tips and tools as I run across them, just from some experiences with myself personally and with working with other individuals. First of all, let me say happy Mental Health Awareness Month. It is May, and this is a great time for individuals to be exposed and informed around issues and conditions regarding mental health. It's a scary topic for a lot of different individuals, and culturally, for a lot of people, mental health has been this taboo space. And so if you got questions, I want you to let me know. Send a message. I would love to take the time to explain it to you. Listen, outside of it being Mental Health Awareness Month, today I wanted to pop on because I haven't been on for a while and just really talk about this idea of individuals who are looking for an audience to hear their voice, right? We search and we search. We want to be valid and valued to other individuals. And we get this warm and fuzzy feeling when we feel like we're heard by other individuals. But here's the question I want to challenge you with this. How much do you value your own voice? Is it always necessary for someone else to hear your voice in order for you to be affirmed by other individuals? Do you not know that your voice has strong value, and the first place that it has to have strong value is in you? Oftentimes we are ruminating over self-talk that in a lot of cases is negative. If we've heard negative talk to us, it becomes our constant negative self-talk. And when we don't catch that, then we allow that to kind of run rampant within ourselves, within our mind, our emotions, and all of our energy spaces. And until we catch it and grip it, we can't change it. So while I'm looking for an audience to hear my voice, I've got to make sure that I am loving my own voice. I am paying attention to me, that I am encouraged by my own motivation and trusting my own decisions and capacity, that I am not estranged from my own self. Listen, if nobody else ever heard you say a word, would you recognize that your voice has value? Because quite frankly, here's the truth. I can receive your wisdom, but you can never be my voice. Think about that. You can never be the voice, the primary voice in me that makes me do anything. Because if that's the case, I'll always be chasing your voice. I'll always be chasing your words. I'll always be affirming or needing to have affirmation by you in order for me to be good with myself. So I can hear your wisdom. I can even value it. But no one else will ever be able to be the voice within me that needs to now rise up and know that her voice is strong. I want to challenge you with that, to really take some consideration as it relates to how you value the voice that is within you. And let me tell you this, anybody that is trying to be the voice in your life is attempting to control your life. And you need to be careful about that at whatever levels and dimensions that's happening in. There are people that value the thought of being the primary voice in other people's worlds. But what that does is it makes us dependent on them, and we never build the capacity to be able to honor our own voice from within. Be careful. Be careful. You loving your neighbor as you love yourself starts with you loving all of the qualities about yourself, not just how you sound, but how you think, how you engage inside of yourself. And then from that authentic space, you can then now relate to other individuals and to other things. It's Coach She. I think it's May 11th. I think, don't quote me, because the days be running together. I think it's May 11th. Take a listen at this. Let me know what you think. Give me your comments and feedback on it. If there's some adjustments, I'm open, right? I want to hear what your feedback is, and I want to hear your considerations and your challenges. So hit me back. Have a great afternoon.
Hey y'all, what's up? I am grabbing our partners after all of that good stuff that we just heard. I'm hoping that everybody is having a wonderful evening. We see you chatting up over here. Let's get our partners on the screen with us so that we don't have to do this by ourselves. Yes, 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 yes. This is the LYFE Forum, and I am one of the many hosts. I'm missing somebody. Yep, I am one of the many hosts that is doing this. We are doing this in a forum because we rely on each other in order to get the information shared. I am Shazetta Morris. Typically, these labels under our name show up. I'm still playing with the system, but we're trying to do a better job, right? Right. So we are sharing in this. We see some people that are that have been piping on. They have been posting up as it relates to the mental health moment. Listen, partners, y'all tell me this, because I love these people because they can get me together freely. I'm going to get them back though, but they get me together freely. What did you all think of the inspirational moment?
I thought it was funny.
That was a very powerful whisper.
A powerful whisper.
I was like, I wanted to lay down on the couch.
What do you mean?
Because it was like, it was talking like this, and like, I want to ask you a question.
No, wait. I'm talking about.
Do you value your voice? Is your
Wait, hold on. I was in the office. I'm not talking about that inspirational moment. I'm talking about the one before where our songstress was live for us.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't. You mean the when where Bree was trying to sing the Black national anthem? That was. It froze, so I didn't get a chance to see it.
I gotta send it to you. I'm so sorry it froze because I clearly saw it from here.
Said I didn't know that was the inspirational moment. I said, man, Bree changed awful quick because everything froze. It froze so quick. And then when you just came back on, I said, oh, that must have been a video. Okay, got it.
It was from last year. and we were doing clips from last year, and everybody was participating in their worship segment between, I think, my husband and Bree. And so I saw it today and I said, let me pull this up. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I did. I loved it, loved it. I did. And so then we got to so thank you, Bree, for not trying to choke me from Miramar.
So was she singing?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was
Yes.
she singing?
Something that creatively inspired her. So she was really singing.
She wrote a song.
Hey, Bree, come on, let's go. I missed it. Do it again.
Yeah, we gotta do it again.
I don't remember the words.
Wow.
Call me Lauren Hill. Doom, doom,
Can we play it back?
doom, 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 doom.
I am actually going to send it to you, Adam, so you can hear
Okay.
it in 2 minutes, and so that'll make it work. And then we moved into a clip that I did, I think it was earlier this year. I was in the office, and at the office we whisper. So yes, it was a whisper, but that clip is actually on my TikTok page and I love it. Tiffany Rodriguez is on and she was responding to it because I think at that point people were walking through several expressions of really defining their voice, their value, and all that matters. And depending on the environment that you're in, will resonate why this speaks so profoundly to you. So thanks, Tiff, for just reminding us of that and that audience space. Listen, your body hears what you say first, and then it receives words from other people. And so we've got to get to a point where we are not conflicted within our own self, trying to value something that somebody else has said about us or are saying. You know, the whole idea of confirmation, the voice of the Lord, the word of the Lord through the prophet. And don't get me wrong, because we're prophetic people, right? There is this thing, and Prophet Adam, right? I'm speaking to you because we was just talking about this whole idea of pimping the prophetic and pimping God's voice through someone else when we haven't really taken the time to develop our own understanding and our own knowing. So important, so important. So we threw those things in there so that you all could be inspired and reminded that
that was one of the reasons why that was so strong, is because many of us are connected to church communities, right? And we grew up only counting on what the preacher had to say.
yes.
So that instruction creates a whole issue now, because you have to go back and you have to figure out, okay, time out for what everybody else has been speaking into me. What am I speaking to me? And the fact that this would be, I never thought about it as that little 5-minute blur. That's the reason why I wasn't really joking. I was joking about the whisper, but it was really a powerful moment, because it was like, I didn't know that speaking life over me was a mental health moment.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
that really helped me.
Yeah, it's such a blessing, right? Because I think Brian and I were in the house. We're in different parts of the house right now, but we were in the same room. I was talking about the idea of how we are so disconnected from ourselves and our self-esteem because of all of the challenges where we are always and that's a conversation we need to have it. We're always giving credit to things outside of us, even the God in us. We're giving credit to him from an external space, but we never have the ability to say to ourselves that, hey, Shazetta, you just did a good job just because you understand who you are and how you are.
Right.
It's a taboo for people. You ever run into people and they're like, you know, hey, you did a good job. And the first thing that they say is, to God be the glory.
Yep.
I understand. Right. I understand that he's going to get glory. He already has it, whether you give it to him or not.
Right.
How about that? Right? How about that? But the idea of you learning to believe in your gift and your craft and your creativity, how you were fearfully and wonderfully made, as David spoke about himself, and we take that. Who else is going to build life in you if you don't build life in yourself?
Right.
Yeah. crazy how God gets the glory? Um, but with the exception of the fact that he gave us breath and all that, you know, God makes the point that we put work in. He wants us to put the work in, and then he'll give us the favor and the push through and all that stuff. But that's why when it says we are workers together with God, it's like, stop. It almost comes off, and this ain't what we're talking about, but it almost comes off as false humility.
Yes.
When you give God all the glory, but you don't look in the mirror and you go, "Good job, Shizetta. We did the daggone." You know what I mean? It's and so it becomes so then self-affirmation, right, becomes a part of mental health. And I think that even though we celebrate mental health in the month, we all know that in our world, mental health needs to be celebrated every day. Every day you make it past the struggle, or every day you make it through a hard moment. I was struggling with something in my head, and I said, "Man, God, this is a hard day." And God said, "Adam, you're with me. So even a hard day is just another day." It's just a day. And so I've been I'll be honest with you, you know, for me personally, I used to think that me admitting that I esteem pride was a sign of weakness. Like as a prophet, I was ashamed because I have phobia. And people say, God is not giving you the spirit of fear. I got that. But if I'm locked in an enclosed space, I'm claustrophobic.
Yeah.
You know, and so I kept on running into I kept on running into spaces of fear, and talking to women about it was cool because I would get grace from them. But Brian, talking to men about it, I felt shame because I was like, I would feel like I'm supposed to be able to protect people. So I didn't know that it was all right.
Yeah.
To admit I have fears. I have real life phobias. And it was walking and being honest with you, is that are like since 2017, 2018, about my personal issues, my phobias, my failures, my shames and stuff like that. And so I almost laughed when you were like, mental health month. You mean a mental health moment in my mental health day? I got issues.
Listen, the funny thing is about that video is that it was recorded in May. Yeah. So again, pulling information. I saw that and I said, yeah, let me listen to myself. Sometimes I just pull stuff about myself to listen to myself, see what I'm saying, see if I believe it. You ever just listen
Right.
see if I believe it? Yeah. This was a good segue, good segment. We have now had join us Bernicia Jackson. Thank God for all of the forum. I have a lot of fun with these individuals, and we decided that we were going to pick up on this idea of accountability. Now, last week, we had a fly-in visitor who came in and started dropping nuggets at the end. And we couldn't fit. Don't be shaking your head. Look, the B is like, absolutely, absolutely. That fly-in. Sir got in here and dropped some stuff, and then we was like, we got to go, or at least so I was like, oh man, there is so much to this whole accountability space. So we received some information today and we're going to work some pieces there. And listen, those of you that are on the social media platforms, I am seeing all the chats. You know, I am happy. I am seeing all the chats over here from people who are joining us, whether they pipe in, pipe out. Oh, let me see if I can hear it. Here we go. Yeah, I'm seeing all the chats they coming in from Facebook, YouTube, on all the different pages. So I'm so excited about that. It makes it easier to see. If we don't see you, if you are chatting, then I can see it. And so I want you to like, please, if you please, share, if you will, get some other individuals connected to this conversation. This is our LYFE Forum. This is where we talk about all things pertaining to life and godliness. And we always have good conversation amongst us because we are so okay with not agreeing with one another. And that's an important space. Can I tell you that I got more comfortable with that when I married my husband?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I did. I got more comfortable with somebody not agreeing with me. Hey, Mimi, good to see you. Chat it up with us, share and like this video and send it out to some individuals. I didn't realize how much I did not. Like, my husband taught me how to spar with words, and I'm a preacher. But I was used to preaching a word, you get the information, you deliver it out. But oh, this dude right here, I'm talking about challenge. I said, oh my God. I didn't realize how much I didn't know how to spar until he came into my life. And I said, okay, I get it. And so in this room over the last few years, all of these individuals, starting with Adam, because I actually knew you before I knew my husband. Then I met then Brian. Then we moved down to South Florida. I met Bree. All of these individuals are challenging. Just wait. If you on the screen and you know any of them, say, yes, I'm a witness. I'm a witness. I'm a witness. I'm a witness. Let me see, B, because I don't know if I got you muted on this side. Let me see. Nope, I don't. So you're muted on your side. So just check that out. Tiffany, I'm glad this was a free mental health reminder moment for you. Yeah, take it all. This is what we do here. Take it all. So tonight, yes, going back to that story. So this man of God in the bottom of the screen, he dropped some pieces on that accountability, and we didn't have a lot of time to work it through. We were going to do a part 2 or several pieces to this anyway. And so I'm glad we are back, because I walked away with understanding that there's a lot of different levels of accountability that we have to reference, right? And so I guess I want to start there. Let me see. Okay, try it again, B. I'm still muting you. It's not me. It's not me. I'm trying to get her back on here because we popped and then we popped back on. Okay, I want you to jump out and jump back in again. Let's see if we can try it one more time. Last week, again, there was a lot that got dropped in here. And so I was stunned with it, because we went from the idea of being accountable to our man and woman of God. That's where we dropped, right? And that whole experience. And as we were talking through that and answering some of those pieces, then I was sitting and saying, I think I went to the other side of the house and started talking to Brian about it. And I started thinking in and of myself, how do we manage accountability to self, to God, to self, and to others? However we split that out. How do we manage accountability to God, to self, and to others? And let me preface this, because highlighting being accountable to God does not mean being accountable to people that represent God. At least I don't always think that. I think people get that confused, because sometimes we will respond to people way better than we respond to God. And we don't even recognize that we have a complex, or we have a people-pleasing mentality that just does things to serve people, but we really haven't been accountable to ourselves, God in ourselves, us as God, God universal. We will do all of these things in order to get attention, versus really having a life of accountability. And so I want to start with that statement. And as you all are piping in as it relates to that, those of you that are on social media and watching this at any level, I want to hear what you feel accountability, what your definitions are. Let us read it. I'm going to share it with the forum as you all are typing it in and piping it, typing it, chatting it in. What's your definition of accountability? And here's the other part of that. Do you feel that people have a challenge with accountability in 2024?
Yes.
Are you answering for the people?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I would love to hear what your responses are. If you're anywhere on the social media platform, whatever pages and stages you are watching us from, when you will watch this and we look back at your chats, I would love to see what you feel your definition of accountability is, and if you feel like people, including you, are accountable today. Somebody start with that. What do you think? And since Bree, you responded to it, I'll let you go first.
If I feel like I'm accountable
Yeah.
today, yes, after I calm my nerves. I can be an angry bird. One thing I've learned about myself from my best friend who I live with. And I also found out from Jocelyn that she's my emotional support person, that I am somebody who can only hear when I'm angry. If you're talking to me and it's just a normal day, I don't have anything going on, then I'm not going to hear. So usually when I'm already upset about something is when Kara would tell me how she feels about something or if something is right or wrong. And I asked her, I was like, why do you always do that to me? Because it sends me in an even worse rage. And she's just like, because that's your way of learning how to process things. And you're able to think about it, come back and be able to account for everything. So, yeah, I feel like I hold myself accountable, or shall I say, I am accountable when it comes down to having to take accountability for my actions. It just take me a minute. I need a couple minutes.
So, Bree, did you just say that you can only hear when you're angry?
That's what she told me. I'm that the only time I would hear, as you know how like you talk to somebody, like I can hear you, but I'm not listening. Basically, like I just don't take heed. She was saying that's the best time that I can actually hear her. I don't necessarily want to listen or want to implement something or actually do want to really, really take accountability for something until I've calmed my nerves. But
Okay.
I hate that I keep saying that I get angry. I'm somebody who call everything angry, or I would, if irritated is my word for the day, that'll be the way I feel, regardless if I'm irritated, my feelings are hurt, or whatever the case may be. So I still have
You're
to maneuver on.
you're very intense and aggressive.
I can be.
That's not angry.
Right.
There's a difference. But
Thank you.
Shizetta, when you said that when you were asking about the priority of accountability,
Mhm.
if there is a second, if there's a B side to it, I hope that the people who are giving their answers would answer whether or not the pandemic influenced the priority of their accountability. Was there a reset at for was there a reset for those of us on what we considered most important or our priority of accountability once the pandemic hit and we were stuck with our loved ones in the house all day, every day for 3 years? Did the pandemic influence what we considered a priority? Like, did we find ourselves first accountable to God, then accountable to our job, and then accountable to our family? And then because of the pandemic, and we were dealing with our families and watching our families, what they deal with on a daily basis, did those priorities change for us? That was just something that I thought of when you mentioned like how we prioritize our accountabilities.
See, he does this all the time. He does, don't he? He dropped all of these different pieces. So, man of God, I want you to write down that thought. I want you to type it somewhere in somebody's chat because I want to hold on to it. Because of course, the pandemic changed the trajectory of how we have aligned ourselves, right? And most times as a culture, we are forced to shift in spaces that we should have probably politely entered into. But due to convenience, we stay in places that are like, okay, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We never recognize that it's not necessarily broke. And so we have these challenges. Somebody on the Coach Sheets on the Facebook side, Niche Bennett. Hey, I see you. I see you. She responded to this accountability space. I just want to read it. Accountability means taking responsibility for one's actions, decisions, and their consequences. It involves being transparent, owning up to the mistakes, and following through on commitments. To me, it's about being reliable and trustworthy, ensuring that you meet the expectations set for you and being open to feedback and improvement. It also extends to being responsible not only to yourself, but to others, fostering trust and respect in both personal and professional relationships. That was a thorough a thorough explanation as it relates to accountability. And sometimes you can kind of see where people's backdrop is, because this is it's very professional, and it is very to the point. A lot of times we can see this kind of definition and not apply it everywhere. Some spaces we are less accountable in, and sometimes that has everything to do with how we believe that place is serving us. For instance, y'all pipe back on this, right? If I am going to a workplace and I feel like they're going to pay me or it's going to jeopardize my money, I'm going to be more accountable to that area versus to the space where I feel like I'm going to volunteer my time, which would be places like the church.
Yeah.
What y'all think about that?
The hypocrisy and prejudice of accountability.
Say that again.
The hypocrisy and biases that we have towards accountability. You just said, like, based on our job and the fact that we're expecting a check makes us accountable. But then you got to ask yourself, is that really accountability or is that transactional?
Exactly. Right. Because true accountability is across the board. It's not just the value of what you're getting from one space to another, because technically you are receiving something. It just might not be monetary. Right. But you still have a responsibility to yourself, to and your own personal brand, to continue to be accountable for what you bring to the table in every area you've decided to bring yourself to. Like so, because that volunteer thing, that I don't like, you already know how I feel about that, because nobody told y'all to walk y'all happy hips up here and do anything. So don't get me half stepping. Don't do it halfway. When you decided to walk up here, you knew you wasn't getting paid.
Let me tell you this. I love when I make that statement, because several years ago. Thank you, B. Thank you. I'm so glad your volume came back, because B remembers this. Several years ago, somebody had the nerve to tell my husband about the church that, well, I don't see how you can put such demands on us when this is volunteer. We're volunteering our services here anyway. Woo! That man of God,
baby.
That man of God almost went haywire.
Oh man, I would have loved to.
Right. So okay. So don't call me. How about that?
Don't call me for prayer. Don't call me for
prayer. Don't call me. Listen,
team.
Okay.
Don't call me for no team.
So, Pastor, are you being petty? Yeah.
I am.
I was part of a situation like that where they're like, you don't have rights to have expectations of me because I'm a volunteer. And I'm like, what are you volunteering? I'm volunteering my time. Is the time yours? Like, just so I'm clear, are you volunteering your time? Yes. Who are you submitting that time to? You. So now it is my time then. If it is my time, then this is what I expect. And if not, then it is your time and you can leave. Praise God. God bless you.
Now, I don't, I'm a very accountable person.
You are.
I'm very accountable. I think growing up, I was thinking about that like last week and this week, like where this like all came from. But I know growing up, like I was in a million different type of extracurricular activities, and my grandmother raised me and my sister. So like we always had to answer to somebody. And even when like being a part of something, my grandmother never let me quit. Like I just wasn't allowed to quit something. You said you wanted to do this, you're doing it. You in it. And I mean, that has spilled over into me parenting. Like if parents told me that she wanted to join something, baby, don't come back to me next week talking about you don't like the girls or you didn't like the boys, the teacher made you mad, the coach got on your nerves, you're stuck. So a part of that, like being a part of something, like, and like if I said that I'm a part of it, and I said I'm if we meeting at 7:00 and I can't come at 7:00, I was taught like, okay, my grandmother wasn't calling. Now go call that lady and tell her that you're not going to be here. You go call. This is your coach. I don't want to talk to her. That's what she would say. This is your director. You go talk to her. She shouldn't be asking Miss Dukes anything. Tell her you're a part of it. So I had to do all of the calling. So I think over into my adult life, I don't know, that it's kind of good, and this became like a bad thing because I became everybody's faithful Freddy. Like I'm here, and I don't know how to. It's places that I should have ran out of. But I was still there because I'm like, okay, I gave them my yes. Like,
baby, Bernicia was the soprano of the city here. for many years.
And it was bad. Like, and to answer like your question as far as the pandemic, I think the pandemic gave me an excuse. Thank you, Lord. I can't go. It might be Rhoda over there. Rhoda might be over there. I don't know. I can't go. Now, it's funny because I got into an exchange with somebody who told me that I was not that I wasn't accountable. That was a slap in my face. I had never heard that in my life.
No.
Because in their eyes, I was just like, I was in and out. Are you crazy? I was catching 5 planes, 6 trains. I don't drive. I'm trying to get to you asked me to be here at 6:00. I'm getting a lift. I'm catching the bus. I'm walking 5 blocks. Like, what are you saying? So after that, again, because they put that out there, now I'm really going to take my time. So I did lose a little bit of accountability, but I've always been easily convicted too. Like, all right, let me go back. All right, it's 7.
That's where if I have a problem with accountability, that would be my problem. I have a problem with the fact that someone who I'm accountable to then misjudges my accountability.
Right.
That is a killer. That is a killer for me. So using your example, B. So you're on the other side of the city. You could go home. That's 20 minutes from your job, right? But you have to go another 2 hours and 15 minutes across the world to get to church. And because you're running late, you get there by 10 minutes, and your vocal director got a problem with you without taking into account your story. And now your accountability is able to be judged or quote unquote redefined as loyalty. Sometimes it's redefined as loyalty, like you ain't loyal because you always late or whatever, and they don't care about the story. And when those levels when people aren't kind, when they don't think about, what's the word I'm looking for? When people don't care about your story or how you're doing whatever, and they just want to judge you because they're in that space, it kind of kind of makes you not want to be accountable. But in the same token, if I step out of my loyalty or step out of my role of accountability, I've only done it because I've stepped into idolatry. I will only step out of my accountability if I'm mad enough, if I put myself on my own throne into idolatry and go. So how do we manage that? How do we navigate when our accountability is butchered in a way, in a public way, and we want to defend ourselves, but defending ourselves is going to make everything worse?
You know what? I have a response to that, but the man of God put his finger up. Please continue, sir. Go ahead.
I'm going to defend myself. That's first of all. That's first and foremost.
I'm tired of
gonna defend
fighting.
myself.
Believe
So
what
if
you
it
want to
gets-
believe.
So if it
Amen.
gets bad, just know that
Go
you
ahead,
called,
believe.
like you called me here. So if it gets bad, it got bad because you brought it at this moment. So where you bring it is where I'm going to show it.
Right.
And I did, and I did that. And it's not disrespectful, because one thing my mother always taught me, and because she works in a hospital, and she is a program director, and she has to do a whole lot of things with doctors. So one thing that the doctors, especially doctors, and especially the new ones that are the what you call the new doctors, like they're not doctors yet, but they're residents. Yeah, the residents, they come because they want to try to make a name for themselves, and they think that you lower than them. They'll come in and they won't speak, they won't say nothing. They just kind of have a demand. And my mother will turn around and be like, "Good morning."
Absolutely.
"Good morning. How you doing? You doing all right?"
Yes.
"Good. How can I help you?" And see, I learned all of that from my mom because my mom my wife would probably call it passive aggression, where it was forward enough for it not to be insubordinate. So when I learned how to do that, and I took that to work, my supervisors didn't know how to take me, because I'm like, okay, he technically not being insubordinate, so I really can't do nothing, but he's very forward. So I got to listen to what he's saying. So with that, but what I have learned is, specifically because I will put myself in a whole bunch of a lot of those situations. What I tend to do now is I try to make sure that I pick things that I can actively manage, instead of allowing myself to be overtaxed. And then two, what I do is, if I do decide to do something, I ask the question, what are your expectations before we get into this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I need
That's
to know
a good
exactly
question.
what your expectations are, so that so that way we know exactly, and I'll tell you what my expectations are, so that we know exactly what we need to do for one another in order for us to be on the same page. Because what happens is that because we don't necessarily communicate, it's there's expectations that have not been said, but they're expected.
Mhm.
And then by the time that's not you don't do it, all of a sudden you're challenging my accountability, when all actuality you never told me that's something that's something that you expected. And then at the same time, and I dealt with this at a show that I was working in. It actually happened on Sunday, where an actress, she just happened to be late. And she almost came at the curtain call. And everybody was looking for her. Everybody was nervous, and she came rushing, and she looked like that she was really upset about something. And the person who was over the tech, she's like, well, she ran in here 15 minutes. We starting in 15 minutes. I'm like, she got to put her makeup on. She got to put her dress on. So I'm in there, like, hey, are you really going to get started in 15 minutes? She's not even ready yet. And but I'm in between, because I was a backstage manager. She's talking to me about the issue that she had, and I'm like, okay, it's cool. Let me just figure this out with this woman right here. And this woman, she's just being like real rude and real ignorant. And I had to really settle her down and be like, listen, you want this show to go on. You want to be correct. I understand that she was late, but you don't know but you don't know what happened with her. So you got to give grace for that at the same time. Do you want this woman on here or not? Because you can't go on without her because it's going to be noticeable. So she fussed, but she fussed throughout the minutes that I was asking for. So then by the time she ended up fussing, be like, look, I gave her 5 minutes like you asked. I'm like, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. She ready to go. We good to go. I think it's important for us, especially in systems, for us to be able to understand and have a knowledge of the people that are working with us in order for us to properly have some level of accountability. Now that's where the pandemic comes in, because the pandemic made us realize we ain't got to take none of this stuff.
Okay.
We're not going to take
Hold on,
it.
Pastor. Hold on.
We're not going to take it.
So let me ask you this question, Pastor. So how do you answer those of us who entered situations where we bowed too low in order to be a part of, and now we're trying to course correct in order to bring balance to a place that is all out of whack?
Get up, sir.
I was going to say, get out.
Get up.
Get up, niece. You got to get out. You got to listen. Go ahead.
The reality of that is that, okay, so when you all talk about that, perfect segue, right? The world is in a course correction, right? Every system is being challenged, and the predominant system that we all know that we share in common is the house of God, right? So we could use that. But corporate is being challenged, individuals in their creativity, in their business ventures, all of that is being challenged. Theater is being challenged, entertainment is being challenged. All of that is being challenged because in one regime, the way to serve, or the only way that people expected service, was if you did whatever they wanted.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And in that regime, people got away with anything that they wanted to do, which is the challenge that we're seeing today, which is why there's such exposure at so many different levels, because we are a bipolar culture. So again, oftentimes we are forced into spaces where we need to make shifts. And if people paid attention to the pandemic in the way that I am suggesting in this one area, the reset of the pandemic was really a resting time for us, so that we could register and remember who we were as human beings. The low places became high and the high places became low. The crooked started to become straight and the rough places became plain. So everybody was on equal playing field. All I got to do is click a button. I got to choose to click this button. I got to choose to pay for the internet in order to click this button in order to watch you on Sunday. Am I going to do that?
Right.
People started to get their minds together. And so when everything that the scripture talks about in raising or balancing comes to play, now you've got to respect the people that you're trying to control.
Yeah.
Most times when people get angry, they are angry because they have not had their own boundaries. So when Bernicia says the pandemic was a blessing, it helped her because it helped her set a boundary. She was accountable with no boundaries, which is what most people are. We live to be accountable, but then we're frustrated because we haven't said what we really needed to say. Here's the kicker. We have not protected ourselves, which is where the idolatry comes in, because we've been taught that when we serve ourselves, we're not serving God. But the reality is that is backwards. When we're serving ourselves, we are honoring the temple that He's put in us. He has created time for us. So then we are required to manage whose time? Ours, not everybody else's. So that accountability space, when people are not accountable to themselves, everything will go awry, because when you think of others higher than you, and I know what I'm saying here, then you are frustrated with how much you're doing to other people and not yourself.
Right.
Yep.
So instead of say when you were talking about us being a bipolar culture and the reset of the pandemic, and this to everybody, would you say that we are in the center, or do you feel like we're being that almost like leadership or whatever is trying to pull us back into the other edge of that extreme, back into that prostrate place? That where it's, let's get back to the way church used to be, where one person had where one person got all the perks and everybody was just trying. Do you feel like life is trying to push?
No,
We lost them.
come back.
Is I'm
That
telling
was
you,
the devil.
You know what?
It
No, it
was.
was.
what like it just exited him out. Whatever the signal was. Wow. But I think, Brian, you had a thought as it relates to that, because it looked like you were getting ready to say something while he was talking.
Well, oh dang, I want to be on because I don't know if he was done.
He probably wasn't, but I think I have a gist of where he was going. While we're waiting for him to come back, let me read this statement that Tiffany posted. Right?
Yes.
Because she posted a phenomenal statement as it relates to that about accountability. She was saying, here's another example. This is my last week on Twitter, my job. They told us 3 months ago that we were transitioning our roles and everything was fine. And I signed the contract that I would stay with the company until the end. But now, since it's the last week, I'm pulling it back so that I could see it. But now, since it's the last week, I'm seeing myself dropping the ball and slacking off a little, knowing that my last day is Friday. I keep saying in my mind, girl, this is your last week. Why are you putting your all into this job? But the reality is I signed a contract that I would stay until the end. But my mind keeps saying, girl, you're going to be gone next week. So if any of these customers call back complaining, you're not going to be here anyway. But I know that that's not right. And I think that she was speaking from the premise of the reality of being accountable to your word until the very end.
Yeah.
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 I was reading it and I was like, I went through a similar experience with with a former employer, and I had signed a contract too. And I was like working hard. Like the teachers and the staff members were all like, Miss Jackson, you really leaving Friday? And I said, yeah, I know. And it's like, you really still working. I had to because again I didn't want to, but I signed the contract and I didn't want to exit, and then I didn't want to leave a bad taste in my mouth because you never know when you got to cross back over them bridges. So I worked until the end. I did. Lord knows I didn't want to. I was just wanted to be petty on every corner I could get in, but I had to see it through.
Yeah.
You know,
I understand. I understand.
I'm sorry.
That. Go ahead. Go ahead, Bree. Go ahead.
No, I was just quickly gonna say, Bernicia and the other young lady. I think her name
Tiffany.
was okay.
Yeah.
Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
It's making me become accountable for the commitment that I made to the gym, right? Because I signed a contract for a year, and I literally told Kara today, I'm just like, I'm gonna quit this because I don't want to do it anymore. And I literally only have 2 more months left in this contract for everything that I signed up for. But yeah, I was literally willing to walk away. Like I was ready to go to the gym, let them know, forget about it. I'm not doing this no more, whatever. But I need to hold myself accountable because I signed up for something for 12 months and I need to go ahead and finish that and don't be trying to quit in 10 months. Okay, that was waiting on you to come back.
Yeah, I understand that though, but I'm like, listen, I'll make sure I keep up my end of the contract as long as you keep up your end of the contract. Once you slip and slide on your end of the contract, that goes that leaves me full room to be like, listen, I'm out. Because you want me to stay here, you want me to be here, but I see you working and you moving things around and you not honoring your end of the bargain. So I'm holding myself accountable. I'm holding you accountable too, sir, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Adam.
So I completely forgot what I was thinking. I just had a different thought. Bernicia, you said is your last name Dukes or your grandmom's last name?
My family, my mom is a Dukes. My family are Dukeses. Why you know some Dukeses?
Nope. So here was my question. My question was when you were talking about when she was like, you have to call your coach, blah blah blah. The thought process that I came up that hit me was and I was going to say it, and then Bree was making her point. At what point did we as men and women of God, or as human beings, or as professionals, at what point did we give ourselves the out of within self-accountability to not finish well? Like,
say that again.
For me, okay, so when Bernicia was talking, and she was talking about how her grandmom, with her as a little child, was making her as accountable and making her think about, if you don't go there, then you need to call your coach and explain why you're not coming. You have to give an explanation, and Bree, you were just talking about you only had like a couple of months left in this thing, and I almost had the thought, like, since when did we start justifying our decision to not finish well? Like, it used to be a space that used to be a place of pride for us, and then we started seeing people wasting our time, and we started, and I believe that we got our focus on what other people were doing to us, and feeling what they were doing to us. But I believe that the challenge, I believe that the challenge that we're stepping into is God is saying, hold on, what happened to, I expect you to finish well. What happened to, you expect you to finish well? That's where my challenge is. My challenge is now listening to your explanations were great. Your examples were great, because I can find myself in all of that. And I can also find myself where my breaking point was my focus on another individual and what they were doing to me. And that's what made me quit. And all this thing just came right back around, and I felt like emotionally just slapped all in my spirit, where God was like, since when is your quitting justified by what other people do? I expect you to finish well, but because of certain situations in my life, I stopped expecting me to finish well. Almost in some spaces as if I were looking for an excuse to quit, and they just gave me my out.
I think the balance of that is important though, because I for a long time could not, it was hard for me to distinguish, I guess, I ain't gonna say, because I knew I was in places that I knew I shouldn't have been, but I was just so committed, like, okay, all right, they need me, so I'm here. But I was suffering because I was being pulled in like 95 different directions.
Yeah.
And now my life is like way out of balance, and I couldn't blame nobody but me. Because I'm all over here. I'm the people's soprano. I'm over here. I'm getting home at like 11 o'clock at night. My daughter ain't did no homework, and these people don't care. I'm servicing people well. I am servicing people well, but I'm doing a disservice to myself. So it's like I'm yeah, you accountable. Yeah, we love her. And the very moment that I decided that I needed to do something for me, it's like all those years of faithfulness and accountability was way out of the window.
You need to rest. Are you kidding me?
What
Now
are
you're
you saying?
rebellious. Mm-hmm.
What are these words? Right. Now I'm rebelling. Like, what
Yeah.
is happening here?
Mhm.
That's the black dot in the middle of the whiteboard.
So I had to I mean,
It is.
accountability again. I had to be able to. I had really had to dissect that in my own life. Like, all right,
Mhm.
I don't owe these people anything.
Mhm.
True.
Mhm.
I don't owe nobody nothing. And
Mhm.
that's what I really had to program myself to know. I don't owe nobody nothing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And even I'm still not like a fly by night, do what I want to do, because I'm still accountable. But I was like, work. You'd have thought this is like my, I don't know, like these people like saved my life at one point. I don't know, like I was treating it like I owed them something, like I was providing a service that I need a debt that I needed to continue to pay back.
Mhm.
That's how I was serving. Like
And I
all
think
bets are off.
that is
I'm
so
just in it.
why that's so important here, and to speak to Adam, your statement and your question is because Bernicia, to me, when I hear her talk about that space in her life, is life-giving, because I remember some pieces of that space, right, in her life. And all of us could probably attest to this overgive because of how we were taught to give.
Uh-huh.
But the reality is if you don't love yourself, here's the scripture. It's the New Testament. It's the only law of the New Testament. If you don't love yourself and all of the aspects of that, then you are going to be challenged in loving your neighbor. You will serve your neighbor and have yourself in a demise space and then think that that's honorable to God. All of this comes back to how we see ourselves.
Mhm.
That and here to your additional point, Adam, the idea of, God, the design of us by God, to finish and pursue and to complete what we have been sent to the earth to do is an important aspect, but in most cases, we are not doing what we were sent to do. We are busy
Right.
serving
Good point.
other
Great
people's
point.
spaces. So in that place, our energies are exhausted.
Exhausted.
This is why we've got to flip the script and really focus on, and I'm a firm believer of it. So I'll use that black dot on the white wall, right? I'm the black dot. When
Good.
I'm good and my dot is expanding, I get to multiply myself in another dot. That becomes my neighbor. And I get to expand myself out from this space. I don't get to expand from my neighbor and then become.
Right.
We are backwards, which is why we are frustrated. And it is in every system that we are watching, in every space that we are living in. And what we need to consider is that God did not require our demise for his kingdom to function.
Yeah.
Never.
Oh,
It
all right.
was never. He never required our demise in order for his kingdom to function. Consider even the Old Testament with the children of Israel asking for a building that God never wanted them to have.
Never wanted in
They
the first
started
place.
this drama with us now needing to maintain a space. Who did that? Because then we're comparing, right? They started a comparison when we look at that scripture and that idea of just really, really watching. Well, we want to be like them. Well, like them means that we're busy. If I want to get somewhere, then I got to be everywhere. I got to
Okay,
be
now
in
listen, Life Forum.
audience. I got to
Listen.
be I got to be in every concert. I got to be in every choir thing. But your uniqueness is just continuously being diluted.
Yes.
Because we have drunk the Kool-Aid of assuming that we've got to be everywhere. We got kids. Kids ain't nurtured. We got husbands and wives. We don't spend no time with them. We got family that don't know us because we trade our own biological family for our church family and
Yeah.
then believe that God is honored. Come on, stop.
Yeah.
But
We are
you're
out of
messing with, ma'am, you're messing with our church brain right now.
listen,
Because our
but
church
it's
brain
true.
right, is saying, but what about the scripture that says, whoever seeks to save their life is going to lose it. Whoever loses their life is going to gain it. Like these were scriptures that people preached on, quoting Jesus, basically saying that everything outside the church is secondary. Everything inside the church is primary. So if we're going to do this mind wash, if we're going to do this mind wash, how do we become, we love all of our white brothers and sisters on here, but how do we become that black dot on the white wall? Like, how do we focus internally, because every woman is excited to feel like, man, I got to focus on me, but a lot of men don't know how to do that. We got a lot of things that we have to look at before we look at us. So for the guys and the gals on here, okay, going back to your 5-minute TED talk this morning, when you went, how do we focus inward? How do we say, not only is my voice important, but my thoughts are important, and then we start prioritizing us, knowing that some spaces of this prioritizing might become a little tight for other people who aren't prioritizing themselves.
Very true. Very true. Wow. We are at 8:12, y'all. If y'all still here with us, we thank you. We're gonna stop after this. I done put it in the chat because we have to start from here next week when we do this space. The idea of self-value should not be in conflict with God value.
I just want to say this before we go, because I confused, and I tell y'all this all the time, I confuse faithfulness to people with faithfulness to God.
Yes.
I had the game all the way messed up. I really did. I thought because I was serving and I was doing what God told me to do, and I'm just, I'm a pillar in this organization, that like I was trying to figure out why everything in back of me, why it was like a whole hurricane, tornado, fiasco happening behind me, but I'm on the front line. And then I had people like in my ear telling me, oh, that's because, whenever you're doing what the Lord has called you to do, expect the enemy. God also corrects too. Baby, get down. They don't need you over there. Get down. Get down. And you know what? When I separated, I went through that whole, like the first 5-6 years was very lonely. Yes. Very lonely, because I found out who my real friends were. I found out when I stopped singing. When I stopped singing, it was crazy. My phone was quiet. People that was quote unquote banging with me, I bet I ain't seen you in so long. They didn't care. I had cancer. I can count on my hands how many people was calling me to check on me. But all right, next week, y'all. I'm sorry.
let me end this space here, and then I'm gonna put that voice and value video back up to end this segment, because this was so powerful. This is crazy. It's so good. That idea about self-value should not be. It is not against God value. And I think that we have gotten that so wrong. And because we have gotten it so wrong, we live in the mixes. There are some things that you really have to pull away from and re-engage from a healthy space. Because if not, accountability will always look like this design that says, I've got to do this. I've got to do this for the work of Christ, or for the work of the mission, or for the work of the business. When in reality, you choose to deal with your people pleasing mechanisms that are functioning in you. That had nothing to do with God, and it had nothing to do with the mission statement of the business. That is something that is in you because of the deficit that has probably taken place in your childhood. We can no longer neglect the deficiencies that we put up under the rug, because the deficiency is not meant to make us look like we're not perfect. We already know that we're imperfect, or we need to come to grips with that, right? But a lot of the things, if you really step back and think about it, a lot of the things that we have done or continue to do sometimes is out of a need that we won't speak, which is why accountability looks so distorted. At the very end, if I committed my life to Brian, my word says that I'm going to be home when Brian gets home. I live my word. I don't have to keep declaring it. It becomes the accountable being that coaches in my steps versus this thing that looks like I need to show up. If I've got to show up to church in order to prove to God that I love God, then he's missed me all the rest of the days of the week. There is something about our accountability and how we see that has been distorted that we really have to evaluate. Otherwise, we will not make any strides in the kingdom. Otherwise, when we go, and Adam, check this out, and I want you to look into it, this, and then I want us to talk about it individually, collectively, whatever. If the apostles had to be accountable to a building, then most days they were on the road traveling from space to space. Their reality or their accountability had to be to the God that sent them, and then they arrived to deliver. But they didn't spend all of that time delivering. There were segments where the apostles taught for 3 years, and then there were segments where they didn't do any teaching. Who ascribes our relationship to God but us from an internal space? That's why you got to learn how to be internally accountable, because then nobody can sway you when it doesn't look like their level of accountability, because my accountability will look different than Brianna's. My word looks different than Adam's. My word looks different than Bernicia. You can't ask me and Brianna to be accountable in the same way. I got kids and a husband, she doesn't. See, listen, we got to deal with all of those pieces that we try to construct and make one frame. We land in a space of trouble there. And I think that now when I talk about that bipolar space, and I'll end here, when we talk about that bipolar space, I think that reset is happening in all of us, not because we don't love God, but we really have to identify where we have missed ourselves in the concept. If Jesus came to walk the earth as a human, and we don't honor humanity and humanity's experiences, then what in the world? Why in the world would Jesus do it? Not for us to be deeply spiritual. There is something that is vital in this human condition and human experience that we have been taught to hate. So we will lay ourselves down, put ourselves in the graves, work ourselves to death, and say that was God. And I just think that there's another way. So there's a lot to explore as it relates to your human condition, your human self, but in no way is your self-value supposed to be in competition with God's value, because then you just quite frankly say to me that you don't know who you are, and you don't know who he is, and you don't know who you are as him and through him and as a result of him. There's so much that has to be deconstructed with that in order to have a appropriate foundation to be built there. And I think we should keep having this conversation, because this is crazy.
This is going to be a few months long.
I don't know if it's a few months, but I know that if we're digging into ourselves, you got to get to the point where you ask yourself the question, how do you really, in a healthy way, identify if you could trust yourself with yourself?
Just a last quick thought. If people are taking notes, write this down. If you're going to learn new things, at some point you have to start unlearning some old things.
Yes.
Unlearn it.
Wow.
This one ain't on me, Shez. This is on you.
No, it's not.
Listen,
we are so delighted. I ain't even gonna fool with that right now. We are so delighted that you all were able to join us tonight. If you have the opportunity, please, let me put that back up. Please, please celebrate, sow into, share with us your contribution and seed. Listen, we are a tax deductible organization, 501c3 tax deductible organization. Your contributions go into helping us serve your, and we love to do that by all of the platforms that God allows us to get connected to. We want to hear from you, and we appreciate all of your contributions. Listen, we're going to end this tonight because this conversation always, our conversations always take a completely different turn, but then we wind up back with where we started. But it's so powerful because this is the proof that all of our experiences bring a different blend. What is accountability to you? Where did you learn it? Where is it ceasing? Are you replicating it with your children? There's a whole bunch to talk about as it relates to that. So we hope that you join us next week, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. We will be here with you. Want you to be with us. Okay, yeah, don't laugh. I'm trying to remember. Anybody told you to move from the East Coast, and now you're on the East Coast tonight.
Oh, Lord.
You feel the energy of us?
I will be back in I will be leaving God's country to head back to my own country in the morning. But this has been an amazing trip, and it feels good to be on the East Coast. I gotta admit, it feels great to be home, even if it's for a moment.
Got it. Yeah, home is good. Home is Pottstown. He's close to you, B.
Oh.
To Wilmington, maybe.
Pottstown isn't far.
Yeah, it's in that area. Listen, join us next week, and before you head off, we're gonna put this clip back up so that you can watch it, and we will check you all out next week. Thanks for hanging in there with us. This is LYFE Forum, where we talk about all things pertaining to life and godliness. Have a great evening, guys.
It has to be on the side of your head.
That's a mess. We're still.
Hey, great afternoon to you. It's Coach She here. Listen, I try to bring tips and tools as I run across them, just from some experiences with myself personally and with working with other individuals. First of all, let me say happy Mental Health Awareness Month. It is May, and this is a great time for individuals to be exposed and informed around issues and conditions regarding mental health. It's a scary topic for a lot of different individuals, and culturally, for a lot of people, mental health has been this taboo space. And so if you got questions, I want you to let me know. Send a message. I would love to take the time to explain it to you. Listen, outside of it being Mental Health Awareness Month, today I wanted to pop on because I haven't been on for a while and just really talk about this idea of individuals who are looking for an audience to hear their voice, right? We search and we search. We want to be valid and valued to other individuals. And we get this warm and fuzzy feeling when we feel like we're heard by other individuals. But here's the question I want to challenge you with this. How much do you value your own voice? Is it always necessary for someone else to hear your voice in order for you to be affirmed by other individuals? Do you not know that your voice has strong value, and the first place that it has to have strong value is in you? Oftentimes we are ruminating over self-talk that in a lot of cases is negative. If we've heard negative talk to us, it becomes our constant negative self-talk. And when we don't catch that, then we allow that to kind of run rampant within ourselves, within our mind, our emotions, and all of our energy spaces. And until we catch it and grip it, we can't change it. So while I'm looking for an audience to hear my voice, I've got to make sure that I am loving my own voice. I am paying attention to me, that I am encouraged by my own motivation and trusting my own decisions and capacity, that I am not estranged from my own self. Listen, if nobody else ever heard you say a word, would you recognize that your voice has value? Because quite frankly, here's the truth. I can receive your wisdom, but you can never be my voice. Think about that. You can never be the voice, the primary voice in me that makes me do anything. Because if that's the case, I'll always be chasing your voice. I'll always be chasing your words. I'll always be affirming or needing to have affirmation by you in order for me to be good with myself. So I can hear your wisdom. I can even value it. But no one else will ever be able to be the voice within me that needs to now rise up and know that her voice is strong. I want to challenge you with that, to really take some consideration as it relates to how you value the voice that is within you. And let me tell you this, anybody that is trying to be the voice in your life is attempting to control your life. And you need to be careful about that at whatever levels and dimensions that's happening in. There are people that value the thought of being the primary voice in other people's worlds. But what that does is it makes us dependent on them. And we never build the capacity to be able to honor our own voice from within. Be careful. Be careful. You loving your neighbor as you love yourself starts with you loving all of the qualities about yourself, not just how you sound, but how you think, how you engage inside of yourself. And then from that authentic space, you can then now relate to other individuals and to other things. It's Coach She. I think it's May 11th. I think, don't quote me, because the days be running together. I think it's May 11th. Take a listen at this. Let me know what you think. Give me your comments and feedback on it. If there's some adjustments, I'm open, right? I want to hear what your feedback is, and I want to hear your considerations and your challenges. So hit me back. Have a great afternoon.